Good morning, dear respected Thai, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear community. This morning we'll have a session of questions and answer, and it'll be our last sessions of question and answers for this rain retreat. So we have a very precious opportunity to come up and ask a question from the heart. And this question can be about our practice and about the teachings regarding our happiness, our joy, our suffering, our difficulties. And with the brothers and sisters on this panel here, we will have the chance to share with all of you our experience in our practice with the questions. So please, if we have questions from the heart, we can come up. There's a beautiful seat up here, and we take turns to sit on the seat to ask our questions. So we will, and if you have questions and you feel shy to come up, you can ask somebody to ask for us, or we can write it down and bring the question up to us four up here. But if you really want your questions to be answered, it's better if you come up, because we can only select a few. If we have no questions, we can end. I'm joking. You can. So, dear friends, and the way we practice is before we ask the question, we will listen to a sound of the bell to come back to our breathing, bring our mind home to our body, be aware of the present moment. And to begin, let us all listen to 3 sounds of the bell, inviting the whole community to come back to our breathing, breathing as one Sangha body. Dear respected Thai, dear community, today is November the 25th in the year 2018, and we are in our rain retreat. And this is the first question of our question and answers.
Ok. Chers amis, chers Sangha, chers Thai, j'ai une question qui me... Moi, je travaille pas mal en ce moment sur une réflexion. J'ai une tout jeune amie qui est au tout début du chemin, mais vraiment au début, elle a une espèce de burn-out il y a peu. Et du coup, elle commence à s'interroger sur peut-être les questions de bonheur, de l'essentiel de ce qu'il y a dans la vie. Et donc c'est vraiment un prémisse. Et moi, je lui ai parlé un petit peu du fait que je faisais de la méditation, que je vivais près du village des pruniers et que je venais un peu aux journées de pleine conscience. Et elle m'a dit qu'elle était très intéressée de venir découvrir ça. Et du coup, j'essaye de me remémorer un peu mon cheminement spirituel, de développement personnel. Et c'est vrai que pour moi, quand j'ai pris conscience de ma conscience, ça a été assez chaotique. Parce que j'étais très, très cartésienne, très athée, etc. Et j'avais beaucoup de croyances qui me faisaient souffrir. Et j'aimerais pas qu'elle... Je l'aime beaucoup et je veux pas qu'elle se perde dans ce côté chaotique. Et ma question, du coup, ça serait comment l'accompagner sans que ce soit trop... La confronter directement au village pour quelqu'un qui est très ancré dans la société, etc. J'ai peur qu'il y ait une espèce de rejet, que ce soit trop ou... Voilà, c'est une... Je sais pas comment l'accompagner, qu'est-ce que je pourrais éventuellement lui faire... Comment je peux l'amener sur ce chemin sans trop la brutaliser, en fait. Voilà, je sais pas si c'est très clair. Merci.
So, dear Thai, dear Sangha, I'm just going to summarize a little bit what our friend just said. She has a good friend of hers that is starting the spiritual path, and she had told her about Plum Village. Our friend here is living close to Plum Village and comes for days of mindfulness. And her friend is quite interested in coming too. And so now our friend is wondering what would be the best way to accompany her friend in the beginning of her own spiritual path, because when she looks back at when she came and when she started her own spiritual path, she saw that she had a lot of belief and a lot of things that were kind of like blocking a little bit her, and a lot of she was very non-religious, etc. And she's wondering how it's going to be for her own friend to come here and maybe to have the same kind of chaos going on inside of her. So she's wondering how to help her friend who is very rooted in the society and who is so that it's not too much of a brutal shock coming here to Plum Village. How to help her friend come here and enjoy the practice, I guess. Dear Sangha, I have the microphone, so I may as well just keep talking. The first thing that came to me when you were talking, is that very often for the people that we love, especially, we really don't want them to suffer, and we want them to have a good experience and to be able to experience what we love also, and to enjoy what we love and enjoy what has helped us. And there's one sentence that I really enjoy from our teacher from Thai, that he often reminds us that he would not want to send his children in a place where there is no suffering. And I'm not saying that your friend coming here would be suffering for her. That's not what I'm saying. But for me, it's a reminder of we all have our own path. Each person has his or her own path. And that even if we're a very good friend, even if we're a daughter, if we're even a mother or father or brother or sister, we can be there with, but we cannot walk the path of the other person. No matter how much we would like to do that, that the person has to walk his or her own path too. And to have trust that I was looking around and I was looking at a lot of faces, and I'm thinking, I think a lot of these people are also rooted in society. I know they have the society is here, no? I feel when I look at people that come, the society is also coming here, and people find what they need to find, and people see what they need to see and hear what they need to hear. And as a friend, is for me is how to be rooted in my own practice, and to trust that my own peace and my own joy and my own love will do the job. You know, it's not so much about the talking and about the explaining. Of course, we can explain a little bit why we stop and the essence of the practice, but more deeply from a friend to a friend is sharing my own experience of transformation, and that she sees that when I have peace and when I walk stable, in a stable way, she's going to see that something has changed inside of me. She will see that something changed inside of me, and this is where for me, this is where the faith in the practice comes from. Now, when I see the change in the person, but to have trust in her, to trust her, she's. Thank you. We'll be very happy to meet her. You can tell her.
Dear Thai, dear sisters and brothers, dear Sangha, my question will be very short. All main religions have a God, and we know that Buddha is not a God. So how can Buddhism be a religion? That's my question.
Your question is very short, so my answer will be very short. In our eyes, in our way of practice, our teacher has shared that Buddhism is a way of life. The way we be, the way we look, the way we talk, the way we breathe, that is all a part of life. And in Buddhism, what we learn from the Buddha and from our ancestral teachers is that how we live our life, it can all be with the light of mindfulness. So in our practice, we learn to apply all of the teachings into our daily life. So in our eyes, Buddhism is a way of life. Thank you very much.
Hi, dear Thai and brothers and sisters and the Sangha. I have a question that I think most people my age have a problem with. I've explored it a lot over my growing up, but I just wanted to see how you would answer it. How do you not depend on others' opinions and seek other people's approval to feel good about yourself and be happy?
So, dear Thai, dear friend, thank you for the question. I think this is a very good question, and it's certainly a question that is has always been very real for myself also. When I was growing up, when I was a teenager, I didn't know, but I also were doing many things to seek approval. I thought I liked to do music. I thought I liked to do many things, to perform, to do concerts. It turned out that after I became a monk, a few years after, I realized I actually don't like all of that. I've always, what I like inside of myself is to be on the background, but somehow there is a side of myself that is always seeking for recognition, for somebody to tell me that I'm good, that I'm fine, that I can go on like that. And what I find out in in my practice, oftentimes I touch a space in which I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And I feel like that is very much connected to me being there in the present moment. I sort of, when I do something, I try to fully be there and not to project it into the future. I remember training to be a musician, and I've never actually enjoyed music. I mostly spend my time fantasizing about how it would be to be a musician in the future. It was always this projection of myself into the future and see myself and thinking, oh, how happy I would be when I get there. And I lost a lot of the pleasure of learning, a lot of the pleasure of growing. It's very pleasant to learn, to do things. And there are things that we can become very passionate about. They might not have such a huge outcome in our life. They might not be helpful. Maybe we're not so good at them, but we really enjoy them, and they really nourish us. So I found it for myself. It's very important to take care of this aspect of my life, and it's very connected with creativity, with being creative. It's funny because I used to be a musician, and so it's very difficult for me to do that with music. So when I pick up a guitar and I start playing, I very quickly fall into the kind of projection and into the habitual mind. But I learned how to do that with words, with writing, because I grew up thinking that I'm really bad at writing, and I'm doing poems, and school helped me to develop this complex very much. I've never been a very brilliant writer, but the cool thing is that now I don't identify myself with that, so I can really enjoy it. So when I write a poem, it might be just a few lines, and I might be the only person who'd ever read it, but I really enjoy doing that, and it really makes me being in touch with life, and makes me feel like a sense of communication with myself, and of joy, and of really dwelling in the present moment. I know I won't be a poet, probably. I know that's quite unlikely, but you never know. I enjoy doing it now, so it's good enough. That is what comes to mind. So thank you for your question.
Dear Thai, dear community, dear brothers and sisters, je vais parler en français plutôt. Je suis très timide, donc je suis très contente d'être là. J'ai une question que je voudrais poser depuis longtemps, en fait, qu'elle a depuis longtemps. Ma question, c'est... Je vois que je suis très attachée à la béatitude et je la recherche tout le temps, en fait. Et ça cause beaucoup de souffrance, et j'aimerais savoir comment être moins attachée et comment moins la chercher. Je sais pas j'espère que ma question est claire. Peut-être que je vais résumer la grande paix, ça sera bien.
I'm just going to try to translate, and then you can see. And if the brothers and sisters have more questions, maybe we can ask for clarification. So the question is, first, our friend is very happy to be here because she's very shy. So she's happy to be able to be sitting up here. And she had a question for quite some time, is that she sees that she's very attached to touching great peace or like bliss, and attached to that feeling. No? Says how to practice with that. How to not search for it. Mm-hmm. How to not search for it, because there's an attachment to going into the direction of touching great peace and being in that space.
Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, the great peace is made up of little peace, and the great happiness is made up of little happiness. So that you can practice to be in touch with little peace and little happiness every day, and it will grow into a greater peace, greater happiness. The world needs happy people, needs peaceful people, and peace in myself is peace in the world. Happiness in myself is happiness in the world. Your loved ones, they need you to be happy. So you have every right to practice little happiness, little peace every day. And you know that your mindful breathing, your mindful steps, one mindful breath can bring you peace already. One mindful step can bring you happiness. And then if you want to take a few more, you can take a few more. So don't look for the big things. And one time Thai said to me, every step can bring happiness. That is your challenge. So I would like to hand that challenge on to you, that every day to see a piece of bread in your hand, the body of the cosmos is a little happiness. And like we had in the sitting meditation, recognizing my eyes, my optic nerve, all those things are intact, and the beautiful world outside is a happiness, and we can cultivate it and make it stronger, so that it can help to embrace the suffering that we have. Maybe one reason why we are a little bit attached to our peace, our happiness, is because we feel we lack it. So we kind of grasp the opposite. But we also need to take care of our non-happiness and our non-peace. And if we can look a little bit more deeply and see what the roots of our non-happiness, our non-peace are, then maybe we can embrace it. Every day talk to our little child who may be crying inside of us, and that will help also to transform. So there's two aspects. One aspect is to nourish your little peace and your little happiness every day. And the other aspect is to understand the roots of the non-happiness. We don't want to discriminate against non-happiness and non-peace. We don't want to make a kind of two sides. One side is the happiness, the other side is the non-happiness. We want to be able to see that they go together. And if we take care of our happiness, the non-happiness will also be happy. And if we take care of the non-happiness, then we can have peace. Maybe the peace will come first, but it doesn't need to be a big, overwhelming, overpowering peace. It's just the little peace we feel in our heart with a peaceful step, a peaceful smile.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, cher Thai, cher Sangha, je vais continuer en français. voilà, j'ai juste une question. Comment ne pas être profondément déçu quand on lutte pour avoir quelque chose et qu'au bout du compte, on ne pourra pas avoir cette chose.
So, dear Sangha, the question is how to not feel deeply disappointed when we struggle to have something and at the end we do not have that thing that we struggled to have.
So, dear Thai, dear friends, dear brother, there's one thing that come up to mind when I hear the question. And it is that many times in my life I struggle to get something and then I get it and I still suffer. Yeah. I think there's somehow our mind works in a very funny way. It likes to project the happiness in the future when we'll get something, when we'll realize something. And I really, over and over and over again during my life as a monk, I've seen how much this thing is really confusing, because it doesn't really work. When we actually look at the reality of it, we see we struggle for something, we get it, and then we suffer. We struggle for something, we don't get it, and then we suffer just the same. And I feel actually it's very helpful to notice that. You just need to notice that, and maybe over 1 year, 2 years, you just notice, oh, I got it and I'm not more happy. I didn't get it and I'm suffering. And then slowly you start to be a little bit less attached, because you realize your happiness is not there. You know, your happiness is actually much more accessible to you. If you really want to be happy, you simply have to return to this moment and find a place of stability and of freedom inside of yourself. But it's difficult when our mind is attached to something in the future. It's very hard to disengage from it. So it's important that we don't fight, that we don't start to battle our little attachments, but we do notice it. We do notice when we get something and when we don't get something, what does happen inside of ourselves. What I practice is very simple. I just take a mental note. I suddenly get something I wanted, and I'm like, how does that feel? You know, when I was a young novice, and I attended the first lamp transmission, and I was very excited, and I already started writing my transmission gatha. I think I wrote a few, 2 or 3 gathas. Like, I'm ready, 10 years from now, or maybe Thai will see me, and then it might be earlier than 10 years, maybe. I'm ready, And I thought, yeah, in that moment I'll be really happy, Thai transmit the lamp to you, and suddenly you get to be a Dharma teacher or something like that. And then suddenly you find yourself being a Dharma teacher, and you're like, oh, I'd much rather not be a Dharma teacher. Now I have to go to the meetings, I have to do this and that. So happiness is a really funny thing. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for asking.
Dear community, my question is about student-teacher relationships, and how, in a sense, we're all students and all teachers. And I feel this, I'm no longer little, and there are some dynamics in which I feel I begin to become a point of reference for people younger than me, people maybe who've come to Plum Village more recently. And on the other hand, I continue relying on and being inspired by the advice of my teachers, both at school and here. However, I see that I have trouble being vulnerable with those who I'm supposed to. In America, we say we have leadership, right? And when you're a leader, you don't want to be vulnerable. But I find it incredibly frustrating when I feel that teachers or people mentoring me either pretend or ignore or deny their own troubles. And so, which is hypocritical of me because I do the same thing. And how do we deal with that? And I feel like we are a hierarchical community in a sense. And so for me it's very much related to how to relate to the Sangha.
Yaja, if just to confirm the question, is how do we learn to be a leader when we are in a role of a leader, we also still be able to connect and be open, somewhat like that. And because we have some trouble recognizing in our teachers and our leaders, sometimes their inability to connect and to be open about their suffering and their difficulties. And dear community, thank you for your question. We have teachers, we have leaders, but we also have to have friends. In the 4 elements of gratitude that we practice to touch deeply every day is the gratitude of our parents who has offered us life. Gratitude to our teachers who show us the way to love and understand. But also gratitude to all of our friends on the path that supports us. And the 4th one, to all living beings. When I look at a teacher, when I have a connection to a teacher, I also have to recognize the friendship in them, the quality of a friend. A good leader, a good teacher is someone who is also a good friend. So when we look at ourselves as an elder brother and elder sister, we have to also recognize that we are also a friend. Because in friendship, there is space for openness. There is space to listen and to share on a level where we can feel more down to earth, more like peers. But as a good leader knows when they have to be very firm, very solid, in order to offer guidance and in order to direct. And a good leader knows when to drink a cup of tea, have a picnic together. So as a practitioner, we are all in a way leaders, because our way of life is a way of leading. And if we can connect to that quality inside of us, then we can be free from concept of leadership, elders, etc. That's the ultimate dimension. But in the historical dimension, in our daily life, we need teachers, because teachers are the ones who have experience. They can pass on the knowledge that has been handed down to us. And our practice is to see the stream of life as a continuation. When we look deeply at our teacher, spiritual teacher, Thai, we can see the quality of leadership in Thai. We can see that he shows us the way how to be free from our suffering, how to look deeply into our suffering, how to look more deeply into ourself. And thanks to his own experience and his own insights, that he has shared that and transmitted that to us. But when we look more deeply into Thai and his way of life, you see that Thai is very human. Even though he is a Zen master, but he still eats and drinks and walks with all of us. He's still part of the community. And that is his practice of connecting and being open to everyone and sharing his way of life. So as a teacher, we also know that we don't only teach through what we say. We don't only teach but what we present, but we teach by our way of life. And one of the best teaching is maybe by the way of being. Because if you can talk the walk, then it's much more powerful. So as a young person growing up, we have these qualities inside of us also. And what helps me personally, what helps me connect a lot to my community is to find the friendship in my community. We are a very big Sangha. In the monks community, there's about 60 to 70 of us. And I'm not friends with everyone, but I don't hate everyone. But I have my brothers who I know I can connect deeply to. And I know that I can share my vulnerability with them. Because sharing my vulnerability, I also have to be skillful. And I have to be selective. Because it is something that is more deep. And if I open it up at the wrong time, at the wrong place, it can be more harmful. Especially when we want to share with somebody something very deep inside of us. We have to have a good connection. And we have to recognize their openness in them. And we have to have a real relationship. Because if, as a practitioner, sharing is a way of showing off. So we have to also see our intention behind our sharings, even behind our opening. And a true opening of the heart is only real when it's with real friends on the path. And the more we connect with the community, with our friends, and the more we are learning to connect in the community. When someone among the lay community or the monastic take refuge in me as their mentor, they are taking refuge in the Sangha. Because I am a part of the Sangha. I represent the Sangha. And maybe through their connection with me, they will have a deeper connection with the Sangha. So as a friend, as a leader, our personal connections are also links to a bigger connection. And I can see this in workplace, in school. If there is this insight, there may be more openness among the colleagues, amongst the friends. But all of this, it takes training, it takes practice. To be a friend, it takes practice. Because one of the elements of a friend is to learn to be there. And being there is a practice in our Dhamma. To dwell in the present moment is a practice. And when you are really there for your friend, the quality of being is very different than just, oh, hello, how are you, what's up, you know? That's cool and everything, but when you're there, you have a cup of tea, you're present, you're really there. There's a layer of quality in that. But what is more difficult is to be there when somebody suffers. We have the tendency to be there when somebody is very fresh and joyful, but when somebody suffers, it's more difficult. And as a teacher, as a leader, as a parent, to learn this quality is very important in the way of supporting and the way of being a friend. So don't look too far and don't expect too much, because we have to see these qualities inside of us also. If a teacher from outside is not able to offer that, we don't lose all of our faith in them, because there's still goodness in that teacher. But we learn to recognize what we can offer as a friend, as an elder brother, sister, as a teacher to our colleagues. Because recognizing these qualities, we learn to be a better person. And our path is endless. So if we look for perfection in leadership, in teachers, and in friendship, then we are losing our openness. So remember, as a friend, as a leader, one of the strong element and quality is openness. Because when we are open, then our friends, our students have a space to share. They feel the love and the compassion from us. And this is something that needs development inside. Yeah. So good luck with being a friend, a leader, an older sister. Thank you. You see, you're an older sister already. She adores you.
Dear Thai, dear brothers, dear sisters, dear Sangha, much love first. My question is kind of difficult to express because it's about sensations. When I'm pretty new, so perhaps it's important to say. When I'm meditating, by walking, sitting, eating carrots, I don't know, I feel that sensation of peacefulness, and then there's something which is coming right here, but like very strong, and at some point it just feels like it's gonna explode. Like it's really huge, and it's kind of difficult to understand what it represents, even if I sense it. So my questions, which are double, would be first: is there anyone else that get that same kind of sensation? Because I just feel perhaps it's kind of bizarre. Perhaps to put an image on it, because it's pretty abstract, is then imagine you're walking and you cross a baby or a child which is coming by, and you're just hugging that child. So there's no attachment, but there's love that you just feel, you don't know why, because you don't know that baby, right? So, and just imagine this like getting immense, like here. Yeah, it's really difficult to express. So yeah, first question would be if someone maybe has the same kind of sensation, and because it's getting sometimes really, like I get goosebumps. I don't know what it is. And second question would be, from this, I don't know if the question is good, but how can I love more even that I can do today? Because I really feel that it's profound love, but all this energy, which is going to explode, I feel like what to do with all of this.
Most respected Thai, dear Sangha. So in Buddhism we learn that love is based in understanding. So that if you feel love, and it's true love, it's because you understand. It's not just an emotion that comes up like that. And there are 4 parts to true love in Buddhism. And the first is called loving kindness. And that is the ability to bring happiness. You understand what will help that person to be happy. And therefore you can bring happiness. And the second is compassion. And that also is based on understanding. Understanding that person, how that person is suffering, and knowing the way to help that person suffer less. And the third is called joy. And joy is also needs understanding in it. Our step, our breath, having a piece of bread in our in our hands, these things bring us joy, which come from our gratitude. And we also say that joy comes from letting go. So we practice letting go of our idea of what happiness is, in order to touch the real happiness that is available in the present moment. And the 4th part of true love is called equanimity or inclusiveness, which means that we don't just love those who are lovable, we also learn how to understand in order to be able to love those who are difficult for us, who have made us suffer. So with these things, it kind of brings our intellect and our feelings together. If compassion is just feelings, it's not enough. So somehow in our practice we need to reduce the gap between our feelings and our intellect, because we need them both. So we can slow down and we can touch the earth more, be in touch with our feet and the contact with the earth. And in our meditation time, we can practice love meditation. That is, we can practice, first of all, to love ourselves, to wish ourselves to be happy, to be safe. But then we need to also wish for others to be happy and safe. And we need to wish for the person who is making our life difficult to be happy and safe. And we need to know, understand. So we're made up of the 5 skandhas, the body, feeling, perception, mental formation and consciousness. We need to understand our own 5 skandhas, and we need to understand the 5 skandhas of the person who is making us suffer. What kind of feeling does he or she have? What kind of perception does he or she have that make them suffer? So I think that in this way we can bring our intellect and our feelings together, and they can work together in harmony.
Dear Thai, respected brothers and sisters, community of Sangha and friends. I've been here 2 weeks now, and the words that I heard on my very first night in this room, in this beautiful Dhamma hall, have been with me since I've arrived, and the words were in English. There is no escaping illness, there's no escaping old age, and there's no escaping death. So these have been very much part of my inner workings over the last 2 weeks. And my question is around the mindfulness training of reverence for life, and looking after the body, consuming well, consuming good food, not drinking alcohol, not taking toxins. And the flip side is reverence for life, and then also realizing that I am not this body. So I have some lack of understanding there. And in terms of medical treatment, that sometimes medical treatment can be very harsh in Western medicine anyway. Medication can often be very harsh on the system. So my question or dilemma is around reverence for life. I am not this body, and also the ethical ethics of Western medicine, where often the medical treatment is very harsh on the physical body. So I don't know if there's a question in there, but I have a question. It's around the ethics of we're not this body, and yet we're spending a lot of energy keeping the body alive. And when it is the letting go in terms of treatment and things like that. Does that make sense?
Dear Sangha, I'll just share something and then I let the other brothers and sisters share more. I'm not 100% sure I understood everything, but from what I heard and what is coming. First of all, about that we are not this body, yet we still have to take care of it and spend a great deal of energy and maybe money sometimes and to take care of it. For me, when I hear that we are not this body, and the Buddhist teaching of non-self is first of all a teaching of love, and recognizing what we truly are and not the ideas that we have about ourselves. To be free from ideas that we have about ourselves of what I am, and that is a solid thing. So it's non-self for me would be a teaching on true love and remembering. Now remembering what is it that I call me, meaning all my ancestors. Then when I said I'm not this body, I'm also saying I am the body of my ancestors, and I want to take care of the body of my ancestors the best I can. I'm also saying I'm the body of the earth, and I want to take care of the body of the earth the best I can. When I say I'm not this body, I'm also saying I'm the body of my children, and I want to take care of the body of my children as best as I can. So it's not, I'm not that. It's also, I'm a whole lot of things that I didn't realize I was, and I cannot forget that I am, which need a lot of care and love and tenderness. But realizing and remembering that it's a little bit more than the idea I usually have of who I am. Ancestors, the earth, descendants, be part of that, not my friends. So, caring for body does not feel that it's a paradox, somehow, in that sense. That I'm also taking care of a greater body than what I think I am. And in that sense, this reverence for life is the life that I feel inside of me, and the life that I see flowing inside of me and around me. When I can really touch that, I am my father, and that I'm the body of my father, that I'm the body of my mother, that I'm the body of a whole lineage of people that have transmitted their own selves to me. There is a feeling of reverence that is there, and of gratitude that comes up, and of wanting to transmit that as healthy and as healthy in both, physical sense, but also taking care of my suffering and my happiness, and transforming the suffering that I have received also from my ancestors, so that I can transmit something beautiful to my descendants. So the transmission cannot only be of, the transmission can be changed also. Yeah, that was the thing that were coming up when I was hearing you speaking. I don't know if Sister Annabelle, Sister Chanduk, or other brothers and sisters would like to add things.
Chère taille, chère communauté, chers amis, je vais parler en français. Je suis un papa, un père, et j'ai eu la chance de partager beaucoup de bonheur avec ma fille pendant de nombreuses années. J'ai découvert avec elle le premier aspect de l'amour véritable, l'amour inconditionnel, et ça a vraiment nourri un sens nouveau dans ma vie. Ça m'a apporté beaucoup de joie et d'élan dans ma vie, et j'étais très heureux donc d'être ce père. Et à partir de l'adolescence de ma fille, elle a choisi un chemin de souffrance très fort. Et du coup, toute cette joie, tout ce bonheur que j'avais s'est transformé en peur. Peur de la voir souffrir, et peur de sa souffrance en fait. Et j'ai bien conscience que ma fille est ma continuation, Et donc, je voudrais poser deux questions. La première question, c'est comment pouvez-vous m'aider à vivre avec cette idée que ma fille est ma continuation et que donc sa souffrance, c'est aussi une souffrance qu'elle a héritée de moi et je me sens responsable. Et la deuxième question, c'est comment puis-je éviter de continuer à lui faire porter ma peur que j'ai de la voir souffrir et donc pouvoir lui apporter plus de solidité. Merci.
Dear Sangha, Gilles is a father, and when he just had his daughter, he understood what true love was and the unconditional love was, and he was very happy to be a father. And when teenagehood came, he realized that when his daughter chose a path of suffering, and the love became fear, and a lot of suffering, to see her suffer and suffering of her suffering. And Gilles understands that his daughter is also his continuation, and so his first question would be how to accept that my daughter is my continuation, and that the suffering that she has is also a continuation of my own suffering, and so that I also have a responsibility in that. That is the first question. And the second question is... C'est la première? Et la première, c'était ça. Okay. And the second question was how to avoid to make Gilles' daughter carry his own fear now.
Most respected Thai, dear Sangha, your daughter is your continuation, it's true, but she's also the continuation of many other things. Her education, her peers, her society. And we know that this time in which we live is a very difficult time for teenagers. We have to see that, that maybe our planet Earth won't be able to sustain life much longer. People are lost. Many teenagers are lost. It's a time when the brain undergoes many changes which cause suffering. And whatever true love you have for your daughter has actually planted seeds in her. But maybe at this time, because of many causes and conditions, she's not able to manifest the seeds of goodness, of love that you have shared together, that those seeds that you planted in her together. But it's not a moment for you to despair, but rather it's a moment for you to say that out of this difficulty we can go in maybe a different direction that can be useful for both of us. So it's a moment for you to change, and it's also a time for her to change. And it is in your way of being. So we are afraid because we see that the worst things, but we also need to look at what is right in this situation. So we cannot tell her she mustn't go in that direction and lay out for her a direction that we would think it would be good for her. But she very much needs acceptance of her as she is. So if there is some way that you could feel, at first you have to feel it, and then maybe find a way to say it. That I know, my dear, this is a very difficult time for you, but I know you have to go through it, and I accept you just as you are. I know that you have the inner quality to be able to transform and to go through this, and I'm there for you, and I accept you. I think she needs to feel that from you, and maybe to hear it from you, although she may not look as if she heard it straight away. And we remember that every positive feeling that we have towards our daughter, that is not a feeling of attachment or a feeling that she has to go in this direction, but a feeling of true acceptance and deep love, which includes equanimity. That feeling, it won't be lost. It will be in her, in your consciousness, and it'll be in her consciousness. Whether you say it or you don't say it, it still affects her. It affects her because she's your daughter, because her chromosomes are also your chromosomes. So what you can do for yourself, you'll also do for her. And not to be in a hurry to want to explain everything, not to be in a hurry to want to figure things out, but just to accept and do your practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking, to make more peace in yourself. And those seeds, now you may see it doesn't have any effect, but it will have an effect sometime, maybe 10 years, maybe even 20 years. But those seeds that you plant of goodness, of truth, of trust, they will sometime they will manifest. And so we have to have that kind of trust in the practice, that these things are not lost. And we have to have trust in our daughter, although what she's going through at the moment is not make us feel very confident, but deep down she has that understanding. And with your help, and your help doesn't mean telling her what she has to do, or it just means your inner peace, your inner acceptance, then something will change. And you can always ask for the Sangha, your local Sangha or our Sangha, to send energy to her. So you don't feel you're doing it all on your own.
So dear Thai, dear community, we'll read one question from the written question that we received. And this one is in French and says, how can we avoid forgetting the things that we have to do when we dwell in the present moment? How can we dwell in the present moment and not forget what we have to do?
They're telling me to answer because I'm very busy all the time. So. How to dwell in the present moment but not forget what we need to do. Breathe. That's the most simple answer, but it is very true and very deep. The moment that we remember that we forget what we need to do, that is a little awakening. That is a wake up. And at that moment, we have to know how to come back to our present moment. And the present moment is to learn to bring the mind home with the body. To really be in the present moment is to learn to dwell in the here and the now. And in the here and the now is when we can recognize what is happening inside of us and all around us. So in our sitting meditation, that is our homework of how to come back to the present moment more regularly and to develop our concentration. It is because we don't have enough concentration, that is why we get lost in the present moment. Have you ever experienced at the beginning, breathing in, I know I'm breathing in, breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. And we practice that way, and somehow we are thinking about a pizza. And mentally we started breathing in, I know I am breathing in, breathing out, I know I am breathing out. But it's because our concentration is not yet strong, and therefore our mind is very used to thinking and used to planning, and therefore we are always lost in our mind. And this is our practice. Once we know we are lost, once we know we are not in the present, we bring the mind back to the present. And the more we develop this habit, the more we are aware of when we are not in the present moment. So knowing that we are not in the present moment is a very good thing, because that is our window into coming home to the present moment. And in these moments of failures, we can call it like that, is giving us a chance to develop our success in the present moment. But we don't become attached to the present moment, because in the present moment, there is many wonders. If we are attached to just one feeling, one formation, then we are lost in the present moment. So being in the present moment is the ability to know what is manifesting in the here and the now in our body and our mind. And in the present moment, we can develop our concentration. When our concentration is stronger, then our thinking becomes more productive. Buddhism and our teaching never said that we're not allowed to think. We can be mindful of our thinking. And once we have thought out what to do next, then we let go and then we take care of the present. Because only in the present can we take care of the past that has happened. All the experience that we have experienced from the past is very alive in the present moment. But we do not become attached and lost in it. And only in the present moment can we know what to do and what not to do to take care of our future. But we also don't become worried and become fearful of it. And in the present, we know that life is available, and there is goodness and there is wellness in the present. And it's very important to touch those wonderful qualities in the present moment. That helps build our strong foundation of present moment. So remember, we have to also develop our deep concentration in the present. Mindfulness is to be aware, but in mindfulness we can dwell in it. Awareness in itself is not enough. We have to develop our concentration to look deeply into it, to dwell in our peaceful energy in the moment. If we don't know how to dwell in it, then we don't know how to take care of it. And by By dwelling in our concentration, we nourish more deeply our joy, our happiness, our stability. And in the concentration, we have the ability to look more deeply at our difficulty and our suffering from being overwhelmed. So dear friends, remember in the present moment, we can be grounded, and once we are carried away, just very simply find a practice that helps bring us back right away. Whether it's mindful breathing, mindful walking, or a cup of tea, something to help ground us. And that is our daily practice. That is our daily Dharma nutriment, our Dharma spiritual nutriment, in order to develop our present moment to be more strong and more alive. Thank you very much. And dear friends, this will be our last question of today.
Dear community, thanks for this opportunity. Sometimes my difficulty is with something that we speak a lot about, that is practice. For example, like sometimes I wake up and I really want to practice really well. And I go for walking meditation and I'm really like, today I'm going to do it so well. And I'm really trying to focus very much. And that day is just, I'm so closed to life when I am in this kind of willing to practice. And then I just say to myself, okay, don't worry. Today you don't practice. Just relax. And it's like lazy day. And then all of a sudden I feel like really close to nature. I can feel my breath and my steps. And then I say, now you are practicing very well. Keep like that. And then I lose it. I just get lost into it. And those days are quite stressing because I kind of lose it. Or for example, like in formal lunch, if they say, now you stop your 24 hours radio station, I have to say to my radio station, don't worry, you can go. You can say whatever you want, it's okay. Because if I try to really stop it, then it gets mad. But if I say, no, you're nice, you can be there, then she's more relaxed and it gives me more space for actually eating a little bit more mindfulness. And also, I don't see that there is like a line in my practice. It's not that sometimes I can be a few weeks that I see myself quite concentrated and quite open to the present moment. And then it's like maybe one day is no way to connect. It's not that it's a line. And then 2 days better and maybe 1 week really like disconnected. And I just have to let go, because if not, if I try to follow, so I don't know if you have some experience that the actual instruction or the actual practice can become like an obstacle that makes a resistance to actually be in the present moment.
Dear friend, I recognize that in your question there is some answer there. The first thing that I notice as a practitioner is our own expectations. Our own expectations for our practice. It's important to know why we are practicing. It's important to taste the fruit of the practice, which is a moment of happiness, a moment of peace. If we have touched that in our meditation, then we know why we are practicing. It's important to taste the practice. And one of the dangers of our practitioners is our own expectation for our own development and our own growth. We have to know that our practice is very organic. And our practice needs space and it needs time to be developed. A day of happiness, of solidity, we have to recognize that is a day of solidity. A day of difficulty, of practice, of no joy. As a practitioner, we recognize that. Today was a tough day. I didn't have many moments of peace. But we don't feel discouraged because we know the journey continues. Because we, as a practitioner, we know how to recognize what are the causes for these discomfort, for these struggles in the day. A lot of the brothers and sisters, they have a practice of, we call it the Kung Fu book. Kung Fu doesn't mean martial arts. Kung Fu means practice. That's what Kung Fu actually means. And a book of practice. And in a day, it's almost like journaling, but you don't have to write everything down. You can have like a checklist. You know, today, how was my practice? Walking, how many steps of joy and peace? Maybe 0. And this book is not to be submitted to anybody. It's for ourselves to just recognize our daily practice. And our teacher always says there's 4 elements we have to nourish in our daily practice. The first element is our studies and our growth in our understanding. Then the second is our growth in our daily practice. The third element is our nourishment in our service, in our offering. And living in the community, we have many forms of offering. When we rake the leaf, cut the grass, mop the floor, cook in the kitchen, those are all offering. When we listen to somebody, we offer a sharing, a guidance, that is also offering. And the last element that our teacher emphasized on a lot is our joy, playfulness. We have to have playfulness in our practice. We have to have joy in our practice, joy in our life. If we think that meditation is just sitting and looking at a wall, that is a wrong view. Meditation is to look and to see what is happening inside and to recognize what are the elements that we need to nourish in our daily life so that we have stability, freedom, peace, and happiness. And when we live in the community, we're very lucky that we have the support of many practitioners, and everyone is practicing to nourish the mindfulness in our daily life. And even though that day we may not feel mindful and we don't have energy, but we can rely on the collective energy of the community. And when we rely on the collective practice of the community, it can then give us reinforcement in our own practice. And don't underestimate the daily practice of sitting, walking, eating. Because it's like chopping wood. You know, we around the summertime, the spring, we know we have to chop the wood so that when it's cold, the wood is there for the fire to nourish ourselves. So the practice is the same. We practice daily to nourish our capacity to take care of difficult moments when it comes. So our daily practice is the daily nutriment to our spiritual body that we have. So you have to find the middle way, not to be too strict on ourselves, but not to be too loose on ourselves. Right? The middle way allows us to still have the balance in our daily practice. If we are somebody who is very used to be very strict, very determined, and very hard on ourselves, then sometimes you need to learn to be lazy. You have to learn to relax. And if you're too lazy, then you know what we have to practice, our diligence. And we can ask for support. We can ask for help in our community, in our friends. When I remember a brother shared with us that he needed support in meetings because he knows he talks too much. And he wants to find the balance. And if his close brothers knows that he talks too much, just needs to give a sign. That means it's almost time to zip. So find the balance in our practice. We have areas where we are very good and very strong at, and there are areas that we are still developing and learning to recognize. And don't feel discouraged, don't feel defeated, because it's all mud for our lotus to be born. That's the way of looking at our practice. So if it works at that moment, telling your mind that it's okay and it works, that's fine, because that is where you are at with the practice. And the more you train your non-stop thinking, and then it will learn how to be with you and how to support you. And in this way, we learn to see that our thinking, our difficulties are also us. At the beginning, we like to discriminate. My difficulty is that and my happiness is this. But actually, as a practitioner, what we're doing is we're learning to harmonize all of that within our daily life. And our view, our way of looking at it become very different. And our teacher usually share with us, sometimes insight doesn't come from a sitting meditation, doesn't come from the practice of walking meditation. But it's thanks to this daily practice that we nourish this seed. And sometimes it may manifest at the time that we are most open and most relaxed. Sometimes we are gardening and we have been contemplating something for years, and all of a sudden, during the time of gardening, because we're so relaxed, we're so open, we're with our body and mind, and that insight manifests. So also to know that the fruit of practice comes in many forms, comes in many different conditions in our daily practice. So we learn also to not to be too attached to our thinking of formal practice. Formal practice is very important for us because we have a lot of habits that need to be tamed or to be redirected in our energies. But when the practice is our daily life, then insight can manifest at any moment. So nourish the seed of openness within yourself, and nourish the seed of the middle way in our way of judging ourselves. Yeah, thank you very much. So dear respected Thai, dear community, thank you, dear Sangha, for all of your support and your openness. Thanks to this energy, all of our friends had the courage to come up and ask the questions of their heart, and your openness to listen to our sharings of our experience. So let us end our session together by enjoying 3 sounds of the bell.